Good afternoon, everybody. Today is March 9th, March 10th. It is Tuesday, March 10th. Um, Sorry about that. Talk about prepared, right? I mean, Jesus, get it together, Wendy. Fuck. Um, and this is truly sinister, and I just want to come on today, have some small talk and kind of give some trial updates on some of the trials that have been going on. First and foremost, there was a verdict in the Alexander brothers trial, the trial that was being held in the federal court in New York. Their sex trafficking trial. So we will go over that, and that's really good news. It didn't take them long at all, and I didn't think it would. I mean, let's be honest. These guys are beyond the cesspool, and they just deserve to live that life for the rest of their lives in a cesspool where nobody thinks about them, nobody cares for them, nobody, money doesn't, I guess money talks in prison, but you just don't have those little perks and stuff that you have when you're out in the free world. So I think they have a rude awakening coming for them. I don't know if they're all going to be housed in the same prison. They don't usually do that, but they may be able to pull some strings where that's concerned. I don't know. I'm sure they are going to appeal the decision, and that's expected, but we will be here for it. So anyway, we'll get to that in a little later. Also, let's just talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? And her name is Meredith O'Neill. Is it O'Neill? Turtle Boy's ex squeeze, I guess you can say. Has she not gone off the deep end completely? I mean, what is this girl thinking? She should be setting an example for her daughter, and this is not the kind of example she should be setting. I am just blown away every day by the new things coming out that she's doing. It's beyond mentally disturbed. This girl, somebody who knows her, somebody who loves her, whether it be a friend or a family member, you need to step in and get her some help. It's that simple. This is not normal behavior for an adult. For anybody, for that matter, but especially somebody in their 30s. I mean, what the fuck are we doing here? People are just, yeah, I'm talking about it too, but the people that are calling her a friend right now are not her friends. Let's just make that clear right off the bat. They are using her for content. They are using her to take Turtle Boy down. They think that she's going to be able to help them do that. It's like, come on, guys, give it up. You can't take him down. He doesn't break the law. I don't know what more has to happen for you guys to realize that Turtle Boy does not break the law. He, brushes right up there against the line, but he does not break the law. He knows what he's doing. He's an award-winning journalist, and he knows the rules, and he plays by them. A lot of people may not agree with how he plays, his journalist game, but you can like it or not like it. He doesn't break the law. So whether you like his style of journalism, that's up to you. But you have to admit he does not break the law, and so quit trying to catch him on something. This is taxpayer money that's being just thrown into the wind. Story after story, accusation after accusation, charge after charge. It's like, it's enough. Enough is enough. And the people of Massachusetts need to start fucking speaking up about this. They're just throwing money after after nothing, after literally nothing. How many times do they have to eat their words? How many times do they have to stick their foot in their mouth? How many times do they have to, walk away with their tail between their legs before? I mean, it's one thing for Meredith and Kate Peter and all those wretched human beings to dislike him and try to take him down. But it's a whole nother thing for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to be throwing money after him, trying to get him on something. There are plenty of bigger criminals out there. Well, there are plenty of criminals, period, because Aiden Carney is not a criminal, but there are plenty of criminals out there that have really, bad enough records and bad enough rap sheets to take up your time and take up the taxpayers' money. You don't need to be going after Turtle Boy and Karen Reed, for that matter. I mean, enough's enough. I mean, when does it become harassment? That's what I want to know. When does it become harassment by the Commonwealth? When does that happen? Does it ever happen? I mean, it's like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely crazy. And the fact that, Cosgrove wants to hold on to her phones just in case they, get enough evidence to charge her with conspiracy to intimidate witnesses. You can't keep evidence indefinitely just in case you decide to charge somebody with something. What the hell are we doing? I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. And why that's even being considered is ridiculous. It just gives Cosgrove more reason to think that he can get by with shit like this. And it's unacceptable, and somebody needs to put a quit to it. It's reprehensible what the Massachusetts justice system is. And luckily it's starting to, become more and more public, because first of the Karen Reed trial, Sandra Birchmore's case, now the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case, the Brian Walsh case, that didn't have too many issues with it, but these cases are starting to open the world's eyes where Massachusetts justice system is concerned, and hopefully something gets done about it. They need to just burn it all down and start from scratch. I mean, this is supposed to be where the Constitution, was introduced. It's like, and they are the worst by far that I've seen, besides Aaron Spencer's county, or state of Arkansas, I should say. And yeah, it truly is disgusting to watch, but it's like a train wreck, right? You can't take your eyes off of it. But yeah, I was watching Purple Kool-Aid, and he just picked a random day out of Meredith's postings on X, and he just picked a random day, and she had over 200 tweets. And of course they weren't all under Meredith, they were under different sock accounts, but it's obvious that they were her sock accounts, because they act in unison with her personal account, first of all, and second of all, there is no two tweets or posts that ever overlap. There's always, they go in succession. There's never any overlapping. And he asked the AI, what are the chances of that ever happening? And it was like, none. This is absolutely ludicrous to think that would never ever happen in a matter of 200 tweets in one day. They would overlap at some point if it wasn't the same person using sock accounts. And I'm sure she will come up with some reason why he's lying or he's wrong, or, the information or the data that he showed, because he showed receipts. He had receipts. And I'm sure she'll come up with some kind of reason why the data came out that way, or, I mean, she literally, she acts manic almost. I was watching some clips of her, one of her lives, and sadly enough, she has more subscribers than I do, and she has more people watching, but whatever. Anyway, I'm not jealous. I'm not a hater. I refuse to act like a complete psychopath to get that, though. So there's that. Anyway, and she even, I do believe it was on 1.5 speed, but even so, I mean, she does not take a breath. She doesn't stop. She's like on manic. She's like in a manic state almost all the time. I mean, either that or she's wired out of her gourd, because this girl, I mean, she just, it's crazy. It's crazy to watch. And what I feel for is her daughter. I think her daughter's 14, and if this is what she's living with on a day-to-day basis, that breaks my heart, because what is her life like living with her mom? What is her day-to-day life like? And is any attention paid to her? I mean, she's at the beginning of her, early womanhood years, where she needs her mom, and she needs her mom's advice, and she needs her mom to be there for her. And is she? I mean, honestly, is she? Does she have time to be there for her daughter? I would have to say no. Not if she's tweeting 200 times a day. There's no way she has time for her daughter. And so when does it become a legal issue where her daughter is being neglected? If her mom, he said, Purple Kool-Aid said something like 22 hours out of the 24-hour day she spent posting tweets under her personal account and sock accounts. That's what he said. And 22 hours out of the day, so that leaves maybe 2 hours for her to shower, sleep, spend time with her daughter, run her daughter around to different errands, feed her daughter, stuff like that. It's like 2 hours, really? I mean, I don't know about you, but it takes me at least a half hour, maybe 45 minutes to fall asleep. So, and manics don't sleep. That's part of the problem. People in a manic state do not sleep. They act like they're on uppers. They act like they're on coke or whatever, because they don't sleep, and they just talk fast, and they're scatterbrained, and they can't think anything through, and they can't keep a straight thought. And that's exactly how she's acting. So I would dare to bet that she is a manic, and either she knows it and she's not addressing it and not treating it, or she doesn't know it and she needs to be diagnosed. And that's where her friends and family come in. Instead of using her for content, take her to get help. You can have her committed for a 72-hour hold to have her evaluated, and she doesn't have to agree to it. If it's for her safety, you can insist on it, and they will do it. I forget what it's called. But if you really care for her, do something for her. Don't enable her and don't encourage her to continue with this downward spiral for the world to see. I mean, it's embarrassing. When I watch it, I'm embarrassed for her. But then, I feel like she brings everything on herself. She just goes after people, and when she goes after them, she goes after them. I mean, she doesn't hold back by any means. She will dig up dirt that these people didn't even know they had on them, I mean, but now she's going after people that, I don't know, I can't say, I mean, I don't want to say they don't deserve it, because then that would imply that the other people do deserve it, and nobody deserves what Meredith has been doing to them. But people that are staying out of the bullshit and the side drama, like Attorney Melanie Little. For example, what has she done to have her head put on a platter? And yet, Jen Altman goes on her chat last week and basically tries to bait her into a debate on mental health. Why? If you want Melanie Little to do a show on mental health, ask her. I'm sure she would oblige. I mean, she likes to do what her fans want. She likes to please her subscribers, and she's very good at it. So if you were just to go to her and make that request, I'm sure she would more than oblige, rather than go through her chat and bait her by making some kind of off-colored accusation that everybody who's watching knows is baseless. I mean, it was absolutely baseless. And to blame anybody for Meredith's downward spiral and possible SI threat is not only reprehensible, it's very irresponsible. Very irresponsible. When you start throwing accusations around like that, yeah, that's no bueno. No bueno. And, Jen Altman's a little old to be doing this kind of thing. I mean, I would think, right? I mean, she just got married, so why is she even in the drama? Doesn't she have a new husband to spend time with? I mean, what's that about? And she has got such a deep-rooted hate for Jessica Machado, and I love it because Jessica Machado just feeds off of it. You know what I mean? She doesn't take any shit. She don't care. Bring it on, she says, and I like it. That's my kind of girl. That's how I am. I'm like, fuck off, fuck all the way off. If you want to go after me, I'm not going to spend the time trying to dig up dirt on you. I'm just going to say what's on my mind at the time it happens. I don't need the dirt. I don't need the history, your whole entire life history. I don't need any of that. I mean, come on. It's like, what is this? I mean, what are we here for? Right? I mean, aren't we here? We're here for entertainment, but I mean, when it comes to personally attacking people you don't even know. I mean, I wouldn't attack anybody the way they are attacking people. And I wouldn't do it to anybody I know, especially. But I wouldn't do it to anybody I know, and I especially wouldn't do it to anybody I don't know. You don't know these people to be going after them like this. I mean, yeah, you know them online, but you don't know them personally. You've never met them. So what's your end game? That's my question, Meredith. What is your end game? When do you know it's time to stop? Clearly, you must have some kind of plan, right? I mean, you don't intend to just do this indefinitely until God knows when. I mean, you eventually plan on getting over Aiden, right? I mean, hopefully soon. But she's obviously got, a history of this kind of behavior. She did it with her other boyfriend. She made him lose his job and sent his boss videos of him doing cocaine and, hacked into his email and sent his boss an email turning down a job offer that was going to cause him to have to move to Australia. I mean, it's like there's nothing too low for her to do. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that there's no depth that she won't crawl to hurt somebody. That's scary. That's really scary if you think about it, because it's like She has no limits. She has no boundaries. She has no moral compass, apparently. Um, and people like that are truly, truly frightening to me anyway, because she has nothing to lose at this point. She's lost her job. Um, Hopefully, I've heard that her daughter is now no longer living with her, lives with the father. Um, so what does she have? I mean, when do you admit that you have taken this too far and it's time to stop? Because now you're getting into people that can give it back way worse than you can hand it out. Like Purple Kool-Aid, for instance. I wouldn't want to fuck with him. That is one guy that I would not want to fuck with. And she, you know, I hate to say it, but she deserves everything she's getting. And she still hasn't learned, because she says that, she changed the title of that one video of hers that was supposedly about him. But the thing is, do you believe what you're doing? And you need to close all your stock accounts and then try to make amends on your personal account and your personal account only. And even then, I don't know that people are going to ever accept her back into the circle of content creators that she once enjoyed being a part of. And that's rightfully so. I mean, some of these people, she has gone way beyond what's acceptable in terms of, banter and competition and whatnot. I mean, everybody doxes a few people here and there, but I mean, she has gone way, way over bounds. And there's just no coming back from that. What she needs to do, and what her friends, her true friends and family need to do, is get her off the internet. Don't let her touch a computer for at least a month. And in the meantime, get her some psychological help. That's what, just a second. Sorry about that. Ooh, that's what I would recommend. Just a second. That's what I would recommend, is some psychological help and maybe some medication. But I think she's past outpatient help at this point. I think she needs to be committed and evaluated and then kept while they're experimenting with different medication cocktails, and not let her out until they find a cocktail that works for her. And that I think she has to be willing to do. So I don't know, but if you can commit her for a 72-hour hold at least and get the ball rolling, I don't see her coming back from this without that, to be honest with you. I think she's beyond outpatient help at this point, and she is borderline breaking the law now, So it's like, and you don't get psychological help in prison, girl, or jail. You just don't. The kind of psychological help you get in prison or jail is the wrong kind. So, I don't know. She acts, and she says that she claims to know what she's doing, and that, Aiden's the one that belongs in prison, which she couldn't really give a reason for. Because she doesn't like him. That's kind of scary. To think that somebody like her could actually be on a jury at some point is really scary. I mean, what, I mean, right? And she could very well get picked for a jury because she's normal, right? So, um, yeah, there's that. I don't know. And so we'll just keep our eyes on it, on what's going on, but we'll just stay on the sidelines and kind of observe and lurk and follow what's happening with that. But it's sad, but on another hand, it's deserved what's happening to her right now. And I hate to say that because she is mentally ill, but she's also aware of what she's doing. Let's just leave it at that. She's aware of what she's doing. She's aware of who she's hurting. And when you start throwing people in jail because you got your feelings hurt because they don't want to be your boyfriend anymore, then we have an issue. That's the type of person who would lie to get somebody thrown in jail just because she doesn't like them, and that is an issue. That's how we get cases like Karen Reed and Kelsey Fitzsimmons, and that's how we get those cases. Aaron Spencer, because of the bullshit that gets allowed in. So that being said, I have a whole list of stuff that I want to cover today, and I don't know if we're going to get to it all, but the first thing I want to ask is, Justin used Kelsey's history with her interaction with law enforcement when she was 19 or 20. She was arrested for drinking underage and causing a public scene or nuisance or something, right? For being loud in public. Okay, well, show me a 19-year-old that doesn't party, especially if they're away at college. I mean, let's be realistic, right? And B, when you're 19 and you're partying and you're having fun, who's not loud, right? So, yeah, she ran into some legal trouble at that time, but it wasn't worth keeping her from becoming a police officer because she did that. So it wasn't that bad, right? Because they do background checks on you, I'm almost certain. So my question is, if that's being used against her as far as custody battles go, why isn't Justin's criminal background being used? Why is that just being overlooked? Because to me, that legal background is a hell of a lot more wow factor than Kelsey's. Because most 19-year-olds drink and get loud, especially if they're away at college. But most 19-year-olds don't transport illegal substances, right? I mean, that's a bit much for a night to be pulled over and arrested for transporting drugs. I mean, let's call it like it is. That's what he was arrested for, right? In 2013, he was arrested on I-95 in what was it? New Hampton Falls, or Hampton Falls, New Hampshire. He was pulled over on I-95 at 4-something in the afternoon, and he was arrested for transporting illegal narcotics or whatever. And then there was a warrant out for him for that, I believe. So why isn't that being used against him as far as what kind of person he is, and should he be around his infant son? What kind of influence would he be on his infant son? Is he a good role model? Because he's using Kelsey's against her, right? And I would dare to say that Kelsey's is a lot less cringy than Justin's. And my thing is if Justin did it when he was 19, um, I already, my true belief is that he was only going, if he ever did plan on going through the marriage with Kelsey, it was only to use her for whatever reason. You know, being married to a cop can benefit you quite a bit, I guess, at some points in time. Um, but I don't see where he shows that he has ever really loved her, because the way he treats her, I mean, if you ever loved her, it wouldn't be this easy to treat her the way he's treating her. He's treating her like he totally used her. That's the way he's treating her. He's treating her like that girl that you take home from the bar, and when you wake up the next morning, you're not quite sure how to tell her that she needs to leave. You know, you're not planning, you don't quite know how to tell her that you don't want to spend the day with her. You have no plan or intention of introducing her to your friends and your family. It was just a wham bam, thank you ma'am, now you need to go home. You're lucky I let you spend the night type of thing. That's how I see his treatment towards Kelsey. And that may be pretty cold-hearted, but it is what it is. That's how he treats her. He treats her like she never went home the next morning like he wanted her to, and he just kind of got stuck with her. That's how he acts. And so, you know, and I was reading a timeline the other day about the whole Kelsey Fitzsimmons story, and it's called Trial Timelines or Crime Timelines or something like that. And it was very thorough. I was very impressed. And, you know, it said that on that trip to Maine for the his and her bachelorette party, she accused him, when they got home, she accused him of, or when she was home and she thought he wasn't yet, she accused him of cheating on her with one of her bridesmaids, which is exactly what I said I thought happened. I thought maybe she caught him with one of the bridesmaids. And they didn't say that. They just said that she accused him of that. She thought he was still in Maine with that bridesmaid when Kelsey had gone home, you know. And, you know, they painted her out in the police statements about her, that trip to Maine. They made her sound so viciously evil. And it's like, I kind of find it hard to believe that she's the only one that got that drunk, was having that much fun. I mean, come on. How many people, when they go to a bachelorette party, are the only ones getting wild and having fun? Right? I mean, come on. But apparently Justin, you know, just sat on the sidelines the whole time. I mean, what a weirdo, right? What a fucking weirdo. I mean, who goes to their bachelor party and sits on the sidelines and doesn't partake in any of the drinking or the festivities? I mean, what a fucking weirdo. I feel like it was all set up for Kelsey. And I don't think he expected her to be shot, but I don't think it bothers him that she was. That's just my opinion. And his family definitely doesn't help the situation. His mom being a Braceland, you know, that family is like the McAlberts in Canton, in Stowe, and in, well, basically in Middlesex County. The Bracelands are like the family. There's some huge Bobby Braceland park. It's which I don't know how a park can be two levels, but it's a 2-level park with soccer fields, softball fields, baseball fields, an off-leash area, tennis courts. Yeah, it's like, whoa, wow, And that family's huge. I was going through some of the ancestry in the early decades of that family. They were having kids like 8 and 9 deep. So it's a big family, because you think all those siblings are now adults with their own kids who have their own kids. That's a big fucking family. That is like, if they live in too small of a county, we're talking a family tree that doesn't branch at some point, because that's how big that family is. They can be the population of a small town. So I was, in fact, when I was trying to do some research on them, a story came up about a George Braceland Jr. And I'm not sure how he's related. I'm sure he's related somehow, some way to Lisa Braceland, who is Justin's mom, Lisa Braceland Aylaian. I don't know if it's a cousin or a nephew or, a second cousin, but I'll read that article to you. He's got quite the history of things going on. And I can't. It's like, what? Just a second. Let me find it. I have all these articles saved on thatch roofing, because I'm going to try and thatch my own roof over our hot tub. So I don't know how that's going to turn out, to be honest with you, but I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of scary. I'm kind of scared of it, but what are you going to do, right? Let me see. Okay, well, here's a little excerpt that says, in 1993, officials said Braceland and several teenage friends burned down his father's house on Partridge Lane in Burlington while huffing, which is inhaling gasoline to get high. One of them lit a cigarette and sparked a massive blaze. How stupid do you have to be to huff gasoline and then light a cigarette? Because everybody knows it's the fumes that ignite. It's not the gasoline. I mean, what are we doing here? Right? Is cool. Okay. One dead in Massachusetts apartment fire. A 21-year-old woman was killed Monday night, and this was in November 2007. Was killed Monday night when a fierce blaze tore through a multi-family apartment house in Woburn. A 21-year-old woman was killed Monday night when a fierce blaze tore through a multi-family apartment house in Woburn. News Center 5's Gail Huff reported that police got a 911 call about 10:45 p.m. from a neighbor who could hear the woman yelling for help. Quote, she started screaming and we ran around the other side of the house and one of the other guys broke open the front window to get her out. And then the flames just went up to everything and we couldn't get in there, end quote. Other neighbors tried to help rescue the woman trapped in the Prospect Street apartment. I live right there. I come running down here. He's out here. We were going to, but the whole house just went up, neighbor John Lafferty said. They stood in the cold, watching the building burn, unable to do anything to help. They said the building was very quickly consumed by flames, and it appeared the victim was trapped in the apartment. We tried to break in, quote, we tried to break into the doors, and we couldn't get in because they were barricaded. There was a bureau in front of the door, which that seems a little odd to me, in the front, and on the other side of the bedroom door, there was stuff in front of that one, end quote. Neighbor Steve Young said, adding that it seemed like the woman was barricaded inside the unit. The victim was visiting a resident who lives there. Neighbors identified him as George William Braceland. In 1993, officials say Braceland and several teenage friends burned down his father's house on Partridge Lane in Burlington while quote-unquote huffing, which is inhaling gasoline to get high. One of them lit a cigarette and sparked a massive blaze. And now, in 2007, he's having kind of the same thing happen in his apartment. Tragedy struck again in January of this year when another young woman died in Braceland's apartment, allegedly from a drug overdose, Huff reported. So it seems like the Braceland family kind of has their hands in some illegal activities, it would seem. State Fire Marshal, one being drug dealing. State Fire Marshal Stephen Cohn said that Monday's blaze was likely caused by improper use and disposal of smoking materials. Okay, then but why was she barricaded inside the apartment building? Where was George Braceland? If she was there visiting him, where was he? When I came out of the house, the whole front of the house was in flames, Robin Rodriguez said. It went up real fast. The victim's name was not released. I just have one thing to say. Where the fuck was George Braceland while she was barricaded in his apartment? Right? I mean, right? Where was he? Why was she there and he wasn't? And the fact that the fire started in that apartment, you got to ask yourself, was she sleeping or something and he just left? And left a cigarette burning in the ashtray or something? I mean, where the fuck was he? Why wasn't he there? That's my first question. And then I have just a lot of follow-up questions for that. And I can't find any more stories about it. Just like fundraisers and stuff, and like, you know, concerts to raise money for the displaced families. But I don't see anything about George Braceland being brought up on any kind of charges for that. I can't even find anything about him being brought up on charges after burning his dad's house down. Go figure. So the Bracelands apparently do have a lot of pull in Massachusetts because those are some heavy types of crimes to be written off. You know what I mean? You have to have some really deep roots and some really good connections for that to occur, I would think. I mean, not just anybody's getting away with shit like that and having it buried. But back to my original question, if Justin is using Kelsey's history, criminal history, against her when it comes to custody and the battle to be around her son, I know Kelsey doesn't want to fight dirty, and I know she doesn't want to get Justin, you know, I know she doesn't want it to get to that, but it's gotten to that. We're past that. Justin took it there. So it's time to get down and dirty, Kelsey. And if that means bringing up his criminal history, I mean, sure, it looks like he was never charged. It doesn't look like the charges ever were upheld. It looks like they were probably dropped. But he was still charged. He was still caught transporting narcotics. And he was still, there's still that. And so my thing is bring out, take the gloves off and just fucking get dirty. And if it takes bringing that up, so be it. Maybe that'll set the groundwork for the history of the Aylaian boy not being charged with crimes that he's committing. Because if, he's 19 and he's caught transporting a controlled substance and was arrested for that, but nothing ever came of it. And then how old is he now? 30? And 32? And he's caught on video breaking and entering Kelsey's house while she's fighting for her life in the hospital after being shot by her partner. And he's not going to have charges brought up for that. And as a result of that break-in, he committed online identity theft, online fraud, online theft. He committed theft in the house by taking cash, destruction of evidence. I mean, these are all felonies, right? So take your pick, but he should definitely be charged with at least one of them. I mean, there's a shit ton of them. If you don't want to charge them with all of them, that's fine. But you can't have a list of felonies like that and, God, I need my roots done. Whew. And not do anything about it not do anything about any of them. I mean, what the fuck? I'd like to have those kinds of connections. I mean, that's insane. So, but I did look and, there's no record of him ever going to court for his drug trafficking charge. I couldn't find anything where George Braceland, as a teenager, went to court for burning his dad's house down, or having a girl die in his apartment last year at the same time of year as this 21-year-old dying in his apartment by being burned to death. I mean, really? It's kind of funny when you have just this family name and they commit some pretty big crimes and nothing's being followed up on, nothing's being followed through on. It's like, so is that all it takes to get away with shit in Stowe or in Massachusetts, just to have the last name Braceland? I mean, could you be more obvious? And apparently his parents make a living helping people commit their spouses or their baby mommies or daddies for psych holds to play into winning the custody of their kids. They make money teaching people how to do this. They make money helping people to do this. They make money helping people do exactly what Justin did to Kelsey. Isn't that odd? And what kind of business is that? How do you even advertise that? Right? I mean, what is that called? How to fuck the system and how to get over on your ex and get custody of your kids? I mean, how do you advertise something like that? How to work the system so that you can beat your spouse in child custody? I mean, and it's common knowledge that that's what these to do. It's common knowledge that Justin and Aylaian's parents do this. That's what they're known for. What? I mean, his mom, as a mother, I don't know how she looks herself in the mirror knowing that this little boy, his mom is missing all of his milestones. I mean, being a mom herself, it should break her heart to see that. Because when you have kids, you have to put your feelings about your daughter or son-in-law aside, and you have to do what's best for your grandkids. And if that means playing nice with an in-law that you don't much care for, so be it. Those kids need both parents in their lives at all times. And if the marriage or the relationship should go south and things don't work out for them, fine. But you still need to be a positive role model for those kids when it comes to that in-law. You have to be civil. You have to still include them in family functions. Maybe not the, personal ones like birthdays or whatever, but you still have to include them. They're your grandchildren's mom or dad, and you want what's best for your grandchildren. And what's best for them is to have both parents in their lives for as long as they can, and for everybody to get along with both parents. Whether it's fake or not, you do it for your grandkids. Otherwise, you're a piece of shit, as far as I'm concerned. So that's what his mom is. She's a piece of shit. How can she call herself a mother and then do this to other mothers? Anybody? I mean, I just think it's fucking bullshit. And, yeah. And then to encourage your son to do it? Nah. Mm-mm. Kelsey deserves to have her baby back. She's missed enough of his milestones. She doesn't deserve to miss anymore. She didn't deserve to miss those, but she did. Mostly because of Judge McMurphy Nyman or whatever. Yeah, thanks to her and her spectacular release program, her bail release program that she forced Kelsey to take part in if she wanted to be released. Fucking bitch. I mean, I want to know what happens to her. I want to know if she all of a sudden retires. I would love to know that, because I don't think it's a fluke, and I don't think it's coincidental that she was reassigned when she was. That's just my personal opinion. I have no proof of that, but I think that it says a lot. And if she all of a sudden retires here in the near future, I think that'll be our answer. Okay, so we covered that. Let me see. Just 1 second, guys. Oh, that's another thing. Today they had a hearing for Kelsey, the motions in limine hearing, and I'm not really sure. I haven't had a chance to really go over it yet, but I do know that Brado, that it was brought to the judge's attention the want for a sequestered jury, believe it or not. So let me see if I can find it. I think she's going to go for a jury trial rather than a bench trial. But I'm not positive. Okay, wait a minute. Sorry. Okay.
This morning, attorneys for the North Andover officer shot by a fellow officer want all witnesses sequestered in her upcoming trial.
Kelsey Fitzsimmons is accused of pointing a gun at officers who were serving her.
It's the witnesses they want sequestered, not the jury.
A restraining order. Her attorneys deny she pointed a weapon. In a new court filing yesterday, they asked the judge to keep witnesses separated during the trial and to bar labels like victim, suspect, or target. They also want jurors questioned about suicide and law enforcement ties during jury selection and to limit the scope of the trial to the shooting itself. Fitzsimmons' trial is expected to begin later this month.
Alrighty then. So we're going to read the article that goes with this. I thought it was the jury that he requested to be sequestered. That's funny. I was way wrong. Defense asked judge to bar victim, suspect, and target labels in trial of North Andover officer. North Andover, Massachusetts. The defense attorneys for a North Andover, Massachusetts police officer accused of pointing her gun at another officer asked a judge to sequester witnesses, bar labels, and narrow juror questions as her shooting trial nears. Kelsey Fitzsimmons, 28, is accused in connection with a June incident and was shot twice. She was only shot once, right? Shot twice in the chest by another North Andover officer. Why can't these fucking mainstream medias get it right? It's insane to me. She was off duty at the time of the incident. Fitzsimmons pleaded not guilty. In a new court filing, defense attorneys asked the judge to keep witnesses separated during the trial and to bar labels such as quote-unquote victim, quote-unquote suspect, or quote-unquote target. Defense attorneys also want jurors questioned about suicide and law enforcement ties during selection and to limit the scope of the trial to the shooting itself. The June incident happened as officers served a restraining order on behalf of the father of her newborn. They say she pulled a gun on the officers. Her lawyer said she never pointed a gun at anyone and has been getting the help she needs for postpartum depression. Fitzsimmons was with the department for about a year and a half before the shooting. Her law enforcement certification was suspended by the Massachusetts Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission in July. Fitzsimmons' trial is expected to begin later this month. So, what do you guys think about that? To me, that's insane. I just don't know why the frickin' mainstream media can't get it right. It doesn't matter. Do your fucking homework. Everybody else is able to do it. Why can't you? Right? I mean, it's... Um, and another thing, why did they let Justin come to the night of the shooting? Why did they allow Justin to come to the house when he had a restraining order against Kelsey? Is that usually how they do it? Don't they usually have a social worker or CPS or somebody come take the baby and then hand it off to the spouse or baby mama or daddy? I mean, is it normal to have the spouse follow the police over to said house and allow you to come in and take the baby? I mean, doesn't that seem a little high strung? Doesn't that seem like that could cause quite a few problems and needless problems, things that could be avoided very easily by having somebody else do the changeover? I mean, what were they thinking? That's my question. What were they thinking allowing Justin, Aylaian, to come to her house after he did what he did to her, got a restraining order against her, so he shouldn't be around her anyway, right? That's right. And then he not only comes over there, I mean, if he wanted to come over there, fine, park around the corner or something. But he not only comes over there, but he goes into the basement and waits. Why? What purpose does that serve other than to antagonize Kelsey? That's all it's going to do, is antagonize Kelsey. There's no other reason for it. There's no other reason to do that than to get under Kelsey's skin and rub her nose in the fact that that baby's going home with Justin and not her. The piece of shit that just, ex parte excommunicated her from that baby's life for the near foreseeable future. What a piece of shit. And why would he even want to go over there at that point? I don't get it. That's why I think that he just used her. I don't know what for, but he just used her. I mean, that's all I can come up with, is that he used her. There was a post about Justin that I wanted to read. Let me see if I can find it. It was really well written. It was about Justin and Aylaian being a catch, and it's just really good. I mean, obviously that's being sarcastic, right? I mean, because nobody thinks that, right? I hope. Why can't I get... God damn it. What's going on? It was on X, and I don't partake in X, so it's hard for me to find shit on there after I find it once. But let me see. And I heard that it was his brother and two other firefighters that broke into her house. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, but they should all lose their jobs as firefighters, as far as I'm concerned. Let me see. It's so nice here in California. It's like 70s, sunny. Love it. Let me see. Okay, I think this is it. It's really good. Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay. Is it showing? Okay. I don't like to be seen with my glasses, so I'm gonna, while I'm reading with my glasses on, I put my avatar on. Sorry. Okay, it's by Brit Happens. I'm sure people in the community know this name. It says, let's all admire the courageous deeds of North Andover's most eligible bachelor, Prince, or Stows when it suits him. Justin Aylaian, this fine specimen reportedly boldly avoided a meeting he himself requested with Kelsey Fitzsimmons, who is half his size and had just given birth to his son. Fearlessly ran to court for a one-sided restraining order instead of talking things out with her. Bravely ran away when gunshots started hitting the mother of his child. I'm sure that's what any courageous firefighter/EMT would do. Self-reliantly recruited friends to help break into Kelsey's home once he was assured police wouldn't be present. Proudly hid his face while ripping alarm and security camera systems off the walls. Prince. True heroes prefer their bravery to remain unrecorded. Nobly removed cash, cards, a laptop, and a passport. Prince, supposedly to return to the 4-month-old baby they belonged to. Daringly fled to his mommy's house for the Wi-Fi reportedly used to continue the charitable acts of wire fraud and identity theft. Gallantly shirked accountability by claiming he was scared. Confidently tiptoed into a carefully controlled, unrecorded interview with NBC 10 Boston to explain his heroic conduct. Transparency is important as long as it isn't too transparent. Modestly declared to Kelsey's father that he did, quote unquote, everything he could to help her. What a catch. I'm relieved to know character and responsibility still thrive among men who wear the uniform of a first responder and are entrusted to run toward danger. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. Yeah. Isn't that good, though? I thought that was pretty good. I was impressed. Pleasantly impressed. Okay, let's move on, shall we? We're getting right through our list. Okay, let's go over the Alexander brothers verdict, shall we? I'm so excited about this. It didn't take them long at all to come to their verdict. Okay. Obviously, you can tell by my pure elated attitude that they were found guilty on all counts. And I'm sure they will. Okay, let's go over the statement of the U.S. Attorney about their verdict. Okay, statement of U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton on the convictions of Aylaian, Oren, and Tal Alexander. Ah! I'm so excited. This is so cool. They are getting everything they deserve. Monday, March 9th, 2026. Federal sex offenses are all too prevalent in our society and all too often go unreported and unpunished. The truth is, sex trafficking and other federal sex offenses are present in many walks of life, and we have not done enough to root it out. The abuse inflicted upon the victims is disgusting, scarring, and should not be tolerated. Our prosecutors and our law enforcement partners are committed to breaking these conspiracies, bringing the perpetrators to justice, and sending a message to anyone who would commit or enable these horrific acts. Today, we take an important step in our fight against sex trafficking. Moments ago, a unanimous Manhattan jury found three brothers, Aylaian, Oren, and Tal Alexander, guilty of multiple federal sex offenses, including conspiracy to commit sex trafficking. The verdict comes after a weeks-long trial where evidence and testimony from 11 brave victims demonstrated that the Alexander brothers conspired to repeatedly lure, incapacitate, and grape young women. These are chilling, reprehensible, and unacceptable acts. We commend the victims for their courage in coming forward and testifying at the trial. They bravely overcame the pain of reliving the abuses inflicted upon them and, as a result, prevented others from becoming victims. We also commend the jury of New Yorkers for their attention, care, and commitment to our judicial system. The jury saw the Alexanders' conduct for what it was: calculated, brutal sexual abuse that unimaginably the defendants celebrated. The verdict cannot undo the effects of heinous abuse the Alexanders' many victims endured, but it does send a message. New Yorkers want to bring an end to sex trafficking in all our communities. We encourage anyone who has been a victim of federal sex offenses or suspects such conduct to contact our office or our law enforcement partners. We also acknowledge and thank the women and men of this office's Civil Rights and Human Trafficking Unit and our valued colleagues at FBI, NYPD, Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force for their commitment to this case. They work tirelessly on behalf of all victims of SA and with an unwavering commitment to stopping sex trafficking. So there's that. Now let's see if I can find, there was another one that talked about this one, because this is talks about a video that they ended up showing the jury, and it's disgusting and reprehensible. High-profile U.S. real estate brothers convicted in sex trafficking case. Two famous brothers who worked as real estate brokers have been convicted of incapacitating and raping dozens of women over the course of decades. Tal Alexander, 39, and Oren Alexander, 38, rose to prominence from their sales of luxury real estate properties in New York and Miami. Along with a third brother, Aylaian, 38, a jury found all three guilty of sex trafficking by a jury in New York. Prosecutors had accused the brothers of using their wealth to lure women to parties and luxury homes, then taking advantage of them but their attorneys argued the women were willing participants. They were found guilty on all 10 criminal counts, including sex trafficking and sexual exploitation of a minor. Sentencing in this case is scheduled for August 6th, and the brothers could face up to life in prison. In closing arguments, Assistant U.S. Attorney Andrew Jones said the brothers committed crimes without remorse and with callousness and a perverse sense of pride. Lawyers for the brothers had argued they were womanizers but not rapists. They're not incapacitating them, they're not raping them, but they're certainly pursuing them, said Mark Agnifilo, a lawyer for Oren Alexander. Agnifilo had previously represented rapper Sean Diddy Combs in his sex trafficking trial last year. Well, he didn't win, so I probably would have gone with a different lawyer. During the 5-week trial, 11 women, including several who said they were minors at the time of the incidents, testified against the brothers, alleging they gave them gifts and flew them to locations and parties where they fed them incapacitators before assaulting them. Prosecutors said the brothers surreptitiously put incapacitators in women's drinks and told jurors that they, quote unquote, physically restrained and held down their victims during the grapes and essays and ignored screams and explicit requests to stop. Jurors were shown a video during the trial of Orrin Alexander allegedly graping an incapacitated 17-year-old at his Manhattan apartment in 2009. During the trial, a new allegation surfaced as part of a separate lawsuit when reality television star and top real estate agent Tracy Tudor accused Orrin Alexander of incapacitating and essaying her in New York City in 2024. That's when they were arrested. A lawyer for Alexander called the civil suit a quote-unquote demonstrably false lawsuit for maximum media impact. U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton, whose office in the Southern District of New York prosecuted the case, said the verdict is, quote-unquote, an important step in our fight against sex trafficking. Quote, the jury saw the Alexanders' conduct for what it was, calculated, brutal sexual abuse that unimaginably the defendants celebrated, end quote. This, quote, this verdict cannot undo the effects of heinous abuse the Alexanders' many victims endured, but it does send a message. New Yorkers want to bring an end to sex trafficking in all our communities, end quote. Agnifilo said that it was not the verdict we were looking for, but we're going to keep fighting. The BBC has contacted Agnifilo for comment. Talon Orrin Alexander. Okay, tell us what they used to be. They were once prominent real estate agents working for property giant Douglas Elliman and listing homes for celebrities including Liam Gallagher, Lindsay Lohan, Kim Kardashian, and Kanye West. In 2022, they founded their own New York-based firm called Official. Aylaian worked at the family's private security firm. Yeah. So there's that. So, moving right along. Did that. Okay, the Bartholomews. They are if you're not familiar with who they are the couple who are being charged and being held accountable for the kidnapping, unaliving, and fetus removal of Courtney Bartholomew's biological daughter, Rebeccca Park. They had a hearing. It was supposed to be a probable cause hearing on Friday. And apparently, the judge has now moved. He's put a hold on releasing Rebecca's body to the family for an independent autopsy to be done, should the defense request it. He has also ordered that both the Bartholomews, Bradley and Courtney, be assessed for their ability to help in their defense. In which case, if they are not, then therein lies a problem with going on with the trial, which is not good. But he seems to think that they are lacking in the intellect that it takes to be a contributing factor to their case. So there's that. Why that hasn't been done already, I don't know, because you can tell just by reading their affidavits that they are not really the brightest bulbs in the box, and it's infuriating that this kind of shit goes on, and it just makes the process so much longer, and it's ridiculous. It really is. I can't with this shit. Okay. First one with a video about it. Hopefully. Is there any sound? Okay, wait a minute, sorry. Let's pause. Why am I not getting any sound? Oh, for fuck's sakes. See if I can. Why is there no sound? Fuck. Let me see if I can find one with sound. Sorry.
Restream, one live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want to multi-stream, go to restream.com.
I don't think this is the right one. This one was, when was this? Doesn't say when it was. I don't think that's it. Because she has her hair is, wow. Her hairdo right now is something to be seen. Shit. I don't know why I don't have sound on that one. That was the perfect one because it God. Let's see. I mean, yeah, okay. Is it gonna play?
We wanted to impress some clients, but I was so over the St. Few Steakhouses.
It was her idea to switch things up and try private dining at Casino Matrix's Parallel Lounge, which ended up being a huge win for us.
The fact that their executive chef made a special menu just for us was amazing.
Our clients couldn't stop talking about it.
The space was perfect. We did dinner, drinks, and some of them even stayed afterwards for blackjack.
Now, all of our business dinners are here, and can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually look forward to it.
Definitely give Casino Matrix a try for your next event.
Coverage tonight.
then suggest that we set dates in May for the prelim.
Look at her hair. I mean, I think that shows you right there that she's not all there. One side of it is completely shaved.
I suggest that we set dates in May for the prelim. By the time we actually go through that,
Packed courthouse.
we might be bugging right.
Courtroom.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's put this. Let's do. Yeah, let's look around mid-May for the prelim.
Can't even see the judge's face.
A judge is pushing back the preliminary hearing for Courtney and Brad Bartholomew, the two defendants charged in the death of Rebeccca Park. During today's hearing, attorneys discussed ongoing discovery and several motions that still need to be addressed. The court also issued a temporary restraining order blocking the release of Rebeccca Park's body for 30 days. Up North Live's Tony Lundy joins us outside the Wexford County Courthouse. Tony, fill us in. What's the argument for the delay?
Well, Melissa, today in the courtroom, the defense attorneys argued that they still need time to review some key evidence before the case moves forward. They told the judge that they have not fully reviewed the autopsy report and want time for an independent forensic examination. And because of that, they asked the court to stop the medical examiner from releasing Rebeccca Park's remains. Prosecutors say evidence is still coming in from the investigators, and they are turning it over to the defense as they receive it.
I understand the situation everybody's in, and I understand how that's delaying the process, but I also
It's so
understand
weird how they have the judges. It reminds me of the neighbor, Mr. Wilson on Home Improvement with the fence. That's crazy.
Copied, scanned, emailed, all that. I can understand how everything's done.
For now, the judge says the preliminary hearing will likely be scheduled for some time in mid-May. Live in Wexford County, I'm Tony Lundy, Up North Live News.
Yeah. So now I want to go back and get the original article that I was going to read. Okay. There and there and there. Okay, judge orders temporary hold for independent autopsy in Rebeccca Park case. Cadillac. Courtney Bartholomew and her husband, Bradley Bartholomew, appeared in court Friday afternoon for a probable cause hearing related to the death of Rebeccca Park and her unborn child. Courtney Bartholomew is Park's biological mother. The hearing follows a months-long investigation that began when Park went missing November 3rd. Her body was later discovered in the Manistee National Forest, though the body of her unborn baby has not been found. During the proceedings, defense attorneys accused the prosecution of handing over incomplete and disorganized evidence. Still, quote, "We're not close to scheduling for a preliminary hearing. There is discovery that we are missing. The other issue is in the fashion that it's coming to us. In some ways, it's very scattered. It's putting a lot of pressure on our resources, on our work time," end quote, said the defense. Wexford County Prosecutor Johanna Carey said they were not withholding evidence. Quote, "It's a lot. There's, if they have a suggestion or they wanted a different way, they need to call us, but we're giving it to them as it comes to us. The best way that we can, and we have, are doing our best to keep up with it," quote, end quote, said Carey. The defense team requested that Park's body be held so they could conduct an independent autopsy. Quote, "We have not necessarily been given the autopsy report yet to release her remains on Monday and not allow us to review the autopsy report and to hire our own forensic autopsy would be a denial of due process for our client. So we're asking that you wish an order today blocking the release of the remains," end quote. The prosecutor said they had no control over when the body would be released. Quote, I did get a telephone call yesterday from Detective Piscor. The medical examiner's office called him and said they are going to release the body on Monday. I, as a courtesy, let the defense know that. I don't know what authority I have to tell them they can't do that. I think short of a court order, they will probably release it on Monday, end quote. In response, the judge issued a temporary restraining order to hold the body for 30 days. Legal counsel for both defendants also requested competency hearings to determine if the couple is fit to stand trial. Bradley Bartholomew's defense attorney told the court that an examination is necessary to ensure his client can participate in the legal process. Quote, Your Honor, I think we both agree we need competency, end quote. Quote, competency examinations for both our clients. I can speak for myself and my partner on this, but we want to make sure that Mr. Bartholomew is able to understand what's going on so that he can assist us, end quote. Courtney Bartholomew's defense attorney raised similar concerns regarding her client's mental state. The attorney questioned whether the defendant could cooperate effectively with her legal team during the trial. Quote, I do have some concerns with regard to my client's ability to fully, end quote, quote, for lack of a better term, fully understand the process enough to be able to rationally assist in her own defense in this case, end quote. The prosecution stated they do not oppose the request for competency examinations. The judge agreed to arrange the hearings for both defendants. A preliminary exam has been scheduled for mid-May. This timeline is intended to provide the defense attorneys with the necessary time to organize their case. Yeah, I mean, so being dumb or not so bright is cause for your case being put on hold. I just don't agree with that. It bothers me a great deal. So we did that. We're moving right along. So apparently Turtle Boy got his restraining order against Kate Peter renewed, and rightfully so, if you ask me. But I think they need to extend it to harassing him online as well. But he seemed pretty happy with the result, so who am I to say anything? But I just find it odd that, I mean, this just gives you an idea of how off the deep end Meredith has gone. She has befriended, maybe not befriended, maybe that's the wrong term. She has joined forces with Krusty Panties in her declaration of war on Aylaian Carney. Now, if that isn't hitting rock bottom, I don't know what it is. And, you know, she says that she's friends with Karen. Meredith does, not KP. She says that she's friends with Karen, and she thinks that Karen is innocent and was wrongly accused and wrongly tried. But who does she think she's ultimately hurting by doing all of this? By releasing Aiden's telephone extraction, by releasing private texts and emails between Aylaian Carney and Alan Jackson, and Aylaian Carney and Yannetti, and Aylaian Carney and Karen. I mean, she's ultimately hurting Karen, right? And, you know, her lawyers, Yannetti and Jackson, they don't have time for this bullshit. They really don't. But now they're going to find themselves defending texts and emails that are taken out of context and posted online. It's just utter bullshit that people in the grown-up world don't have time for. That's as plainly as I can put it. People in the adult world have too much shit going on in their lives to have to worry about this type of behavior, from angry, rejected, petty, wretched, lonely, women, basically. I mean, it's just, we adults don't have time for it. We don't have time to sit around for 22 hours and tweet. We have lives, we have kids, we have careers, we just don't have time for it. And it's as simple as that. But she has joined forces with KP, and that's her latest battle plan, I guess you can say. It's just enough. Enough is enough. And I don't know how many of you, I'm sure all of you, have followed the Lucy, is it Garcia case that Hank Brennan was a defense attorney in. She was found not guilty, thank God. But basically it was a case of a woman who had been beaten for the last 28 years of her marriage, and finally had enough, and during the last beating she stabbed her husband in the neck, supposedly, even though at the hospital he claimed to have done it to himself, and he didn't want anything done to her, and he had his lawyer testify on her behalf, saying that, you know, she endured years and years and years of being beaten down, and that he didn't hold this against her. She had every right to do it. But Hank Brennan was the defense attorney in that case, and his closing, I mean, I have to give it to him. He did great. You know, he's meant to be a defense attorney, and his closing was very good. But that doesn't excuse the way he behaved during the Karen Reed trial. I just can't excuse it, because you were the special prosecutor. It was your job, but it wasn't your job to lie and be dirty. It wasn't your job to fight dirty. It wasn't your job to be a dick. Prosecute the case on the facts you have. That I could respect. The way you did it, I have no respect for. And just because you did the right thing here and you did it well, doesn't excuse the fact that you're a despicable human being that would do whatever it takes to get what he wants. AKA Karen Reed prosecution. So let me see if I can find his closing. Or I'm sorry, it's Lucy Medina, not Garcia. My bad. Let me see. Lucy. What did I say it was? Lucy. Okay. Come on.
At this point, we will start with closing arguments, and counsel for Ms. Medina will go first.
It's hard to believe in 2026 we're still debating what a battered woman is. That someone has to see the abuser physically punch the victim. In 2026, the Commonwealth is placing Lucy Medina before you, suggesting that a person who has been battered for 28 years, who finally says, no, stop hitting me. In 2026, a woman who tries to protect herself faces criminal charges. And there's questions asked of witnesses. Did you actually see him punch her? No. I saw the bruises and the marks and the scratches and the flowers. Not once, not twice, not 1 year, for years. And we're debating if somebody's a battered woman. You heard from Dr. Zeisel, a fantastic, experienced, thoughtful, kind, 38 years of experience, and he came and took the stand, and he told you about some of what you might have known, some what you might not have known about a woman who has been battered. And he was asked, why didn't you meet with Ms. Medina? You should have met with Ms. Medina.
Am I working? Can you hear me? Okay. So that's, oh my God. Sorry. We'll start it over.
It's 2026, and we're still talking about whether or not domestic violence happens. It is hard to believe in 2026 we're still debating what a battered woman is. That someone has to see
it in
the abuser
1.5
physically
speed,
punch
so.
the victim. In 2026, the Commonwealth is placing Lucy Medina before you, suggesting that a person who has been battered for 28 years, who finally says, no, stop. You can't keep hitting me. In 2026, a woman who tries to protect herself faces criminal charges. And there's questions asked of witnesses. Did you actually see him punch her? No. I saw the bruises and the marks and the scratches and the flowers. Not once, not twice, not 1 year, for years. And we're debating if somebody's a battered woman. You heard from Dr. Zeisel, a fantastic, experienced, thoughtful, kind, 38 years of experience, and he came to the stand, and he told you about some of what you might have known, some of what you might not have known about a woman who was then battered. And he was asked, why didn't you meet with Miss Medina? You should have met with Miss Medina. She wasn't evasive. She was afraid. She was battered. She was humiliated. And he had an opinion with no doubt that woman is a battered woman on his education, his experience, his diagnosis. And you know what? He did meet her in this courtroom like you did. And he watched her for hours as he testified. And when he watched her, it did not undermine his conclusion one speck. What he saw solidified what he already knew. And his 28 years experience. The best seats are the seats right here. The seats you were chosen to sit in, just feet. And you could see. And you could hear. And you could feel. If there's any dispute, it's over. This is a battered woman. And she had a right. She had a right to say no. She had a right to defend herself. She had a right. This woman is in the wrong seat. She shouldn't be sitting here. She should be sitting there. A witness. A victim. Where's the victim?
Did you see her trembling? I mean, she is trembling. She is shaking so bad. You can't fake that. You just can't.
Witness advocates, where's the support for the 28 years of abuse? She's sitting here because the government put her here and put a label on her. She's a defendant, and they did it like that. Did they investigate? Did they show due diligence? Did they care? Their decision was over before it started. Did they actually sit back and try to think, what actually happened and why did it happen? I mentioned that to you in the opening. They're going to come and tell you what they saw after. What actually happened and why did it happen? They didn't do much. They went to the scene, they take pictures. Now, the medical personnel spoke to Luis Medina. He could speak clearly. You're going to see the records.
I find it ironic that he's talking about the investigation being so poorly done when he did everything he could to defend the MSP's investigation into the John O'Keefe death. It's like it's coming full circle. You know, now it's his client that they did a poor investigation against, right? It's coming full circle. You can't beat karma.
And he said, I cut myself. I cut myself. Did he? Is he lying to cover for her? Is he telling the truth? Nobody would know, because when the police and the government received information, they did nothing. They went to the hospital, he was intubated, he couldn't talk, they didn't go back, it was COVID. We already charged Lucy. Don't go back, don't try. What do you mean by you stabbed yourself? How did you stab yourself? Did you take the knife from her? Did you grab her arm? Did you struggle? Did you knock over furniture? Nobody cared. Nobody cared, because she was already in that seat. And she was going to stay there as she is today before you. And that was it. There was an officer at the scene, didn't have a great memory. Basically, she said something about stabbing, basically. But then when I questioned him, basically, you don't speak Spanish. You heard her on the 911 tape moments before. We see her in this catatonic, terrified, turbulent state. And he admits, I don't know what she really said. I don't know verbatim. I got the gist of it. The gist of it. This woman who speaks Spanish, distraught, through this terror, I got the gist of it, and that was it. Okay. Don't follow up. Don't look for facts. Don't look for details. And at the scene, they tell you that they talked to neighbors. You didn't hear from one neighbor that they went to a door. You heard from Miss Sanchez. But later from another officer, you heard Miss Sanchez came to them. They didn't go knock on the door. She came to them. What other neighbor did they speak to? What other tenant did they speak to? Nothing. They didn't care. So they bring Miss Medina to the station. And when they bring her to the station, understand, she has been beaten, battered, again. She has bruises covering her body. She is in pain. She's afraid. Speaks Spanish as a primary language. In that interview, I'm not going to be as kind as Dr. Zeisel. Was it misogynistic? Is that too much of a word for me to use, is it? You have a woman who helps her take off her clothes. She's in basically a piece of paper. She's distraught. She's emotional. You see her staring, unattached, detached. Why isn't a woman in the room? You have two men, and they were soft-spoken. They weren't nice. All she cared about was her husband, her king. Not herself, her king. Is he okay? No, maybe. There's no empathy. There's no understanding. There's no search for what actually happened. On that tape, the investigator uses the word stab 8 times, trying to force those words in her mouth. And she knows force, emotionally and physically. And she keeps on saying, I don't know. Where did you stab him? I don't know. Where was he? I don't know. You never heard her say on that tape, I stabbed him. You don't hear that. It's their words, and she says she does not know. And if you think for a second she's not being honest, watch her emotion. Think of what Dr. Zeisel said. she could have defended herself and talked about how she incurred all of these wounds and blamed Luis Medina. She didn't. A dissociative state, a catatonic state. And so what the government has for evidence comes from that interview. And think about her demeanor and interaction, that stare, that distance. And think about the attitude of the investigators. You have to listen. But one of them calls her Hun. Hun. Here's another thing you might notice in the tape. When they ask her what was happening, and she says, "He beats me." The detective goes, "Oh, you cheated on you." Scorned woman, of course, that's the case. He cheated on you. No, he beats me. That is their first instinct and impression and bias as they're speaking. It has nothing to do with it. That's how they treat her, that's how they think. Watch when she's giving Miranda. Do you understand these complicated rights? She's staring at the table. Her head, you don't know which way it's shaking. Oh, you agree to that one. You agree to that one. So the government is going to take two fragmented sentences and try to build a case beyond a reasonable doubt. They're not even close. They're going to say to you that when she came outside with the knife, she walked up and stabbed him. Now, if she did, if that was the truth, and it's not, she would have had every right to do that because she had a right to defend herself. But that is not the facts, not even close. I warned you in the opening, you weren't going to hear any evidence that she walked up and she stabbed him. She came outside with the knife and said, "You have to stop hitting me. Please stop hitting me." They have no idea, no evidence. They should not even argue an inference about what happens after that. Because all we know is she says, "You need to stop hitting me," and at some point she calls 911 and there's a wound. How does it happen? We can speculate, but we're not supposed to. The audacity of her to challenge him, did he attack her? Was she trying to fend him off? Did he grab the knife and hit himself? Did she fall on the ground and hold it up? You don't know because the government didn't do their homework. You don't hear from an expert on wounds. You don't hear anything about the angle and the position that she was in. You don't hear whether or not he could have pushed the knife in fighting for it. You don't know anything because they didn't do anything. And they're going to ask you with absolutely no evidence to take her from when she was saying, "You can't hit me anymore," holding a knife, to somehow her stabbing him. That sequence is absent. But what we do know is there is a struggle. There's a struggle. Now remember, she told the police she got punched twice, it's all she remembered. Cut on her lip. Cut on her lip, and then another punch. The struggle must have been before he was impaled. It must have been. Because if there's two punches, her injuries are far more than two strikes. We know there was a struggle in that backyard. Tipped over hibachi, flowers strewn, furniture turned over. She said she threw a candle at him at first. That wasn't enough to stop him. The candle was not enough to stop him. We know there is a struggle. And then we know there is a number of wounds. A number. Her lip, her hands. They don't have anybody come in to explain defensive wounds. Her chest, her neck, her face, her back, her elbows, scrapes, dragged, her knees. This was a struggle, and they can't tell you who started the physical struggle, who grabbed who touched who first, who escalated. They cannot tell you. They ask you just to jump and fill in the blanks. You cannot do that with evidence. You cannot guess or have an inference. You need fact, and they don't have it. And that is the heart of their case, asking you to speculate, asking you to speculate. Ignore what Luis Medina said to the paramedic, to the trauma doctor. "I did it myself." Ignore it. Throw it out. They're asking you to do that. And so when you think about who started this physical altercation, there's a word in law, first aggressor. You can consider evidence about who was the first aggressor. Do you think it was Luis Medina who started the physical altercation, or do you think it was Lucy Medina? Because if it was Luis Medina, the government can't disprove self-defense. They can't. They won't because it didn't, but they can't. So think about first aggressor. A lifetime of subservience, a lifetime of kindness. A once very happy, thoughtful, kind woman who never lifted a finger to her king in 28 years. You think she was the first aggressor? And then contrast that with Luis Medina. Before he even met her, Commonwealth and Defense, they agree. Prior to meeting Lucy Medina, in 1998, Luis Medina was dating a different woman and had a child with that woman. During Mr. Medina's relationship with this prior woman, Mr. Medina beat and battered her. They agree. And then how long did it take when he met Miss Medina? 5 months, dragging her into her mother's home in a back room and beating her so bad, the welts in her face, she's so embarrassed, confused, she doesn't leave the room for days. Who's the first aggressor? I can't go through the litany of 28 years, nor do we want to have to suffer through that. But there's no boundaries for this first aggressor. She's pregnant with their child, and he's pushing her down in a tub. The indignity of taking her out like a piece of trash. Is there any doubt who the first aggressor was that night? When we think about first aggressor, we also consider what her friends and co-workers saw. I don't want to detail, we heard it plenty. It's gut-wrenching. The bruises, the flowers, the weeks off of work. And if it wasn't enough, well, That information was provided to the government back in 2000. They didn't bring one witness in to testify. They didn't make one phone call to try to find out why this happened. They did not even bring the witnesses in for your consideration. We have no burden of proof. That's the law. You heard from the court. We have no burden of proof. But we kind of do, because they weren't going to do it. See, they're putting on a case. It's a search for the truth, all the evidence. They're putting on a case. If we didn't bring these witnesses to you, you would never know. You would never know. We tried. We alerted them. We asked them. They ignored it. They ignored it. And so you heard from Ruth. You heard from Kirsty. You heard what they saw over those years. And that can help you when you consider who initiated physical combat, who was the first aggressor. And if that's not enough, remarkably, you heard from Louis Medina's attorney. Attorney Murat Erkan came in on behalf of his client. And they actually waived part of their attorney-client privilege. And Attorney Erkan shared with you, and I have his words verbatim because they are powerful. This is what his client told him to tell us. He frequently and violently abused his wife. He struggled with severe alcohol dependency. He expressed it was important for everybody to know, especially when he was under the influence of alcohol, he frequently brutalized his wife. Those are the words of their so-called victim in this case. And Attorney Erkan came in, and you saw his diligence and his thoughtfulness and his vetting process to make sure there was no undue influence or trying to help, that he believed this to be accurate. And by the way, asked how much he was going to make. Doesn't seem like he's going to charge a dime. Why would he come in for free on behalf of a client and give you that powerful information unless it was dead on accurate? And so the other part of the government's argument, other than trying to get you to do some guesswork about stabbing, which they can't prove, is they're going to say Lucy Medina should have walked away, should have ran away. She didn't use all means to avoid it. Because she said in that interview, when she's staring off into space, worried about her husband, cold, afraid, she said, I could have walked away. It could have ended. And they're going to take that one statement out of context and say, she doesn't have a right to self-defense. She could have walked away. Where was she going to go? If she could have walked away, wouldn't have she walked away 28 years ago, before the beatings and the brutalization and the pounding? Where was she going to go? And when you think about whether she could walk away, I asked Dr. Zeisel, under the circumstances, could she walk away? In his opinion, his professional opinion, he said unequivocally no. Now why? Why couldn't she walk away? Well, she's in the middle of a moment of a beatdown. We have no idea the sequence of how it happened. And we also know that when you think about whether she could have walked away, you have to, you're entitled to. You can consider her state of mind. You can consider Lucy, how she was thinking and perceiving things on that awful night. Which means we have to go back, and we don't want to keep going back, but we have to go back. This isn't two men on the street, and they're going to get in a fist fight, and one person pulls out a gun, and they could have walked away. This is her home. This is her life. This is where she's been living and beaten for over 2 decades. You get to consider her state of mind. We have that privilege to consider her state of mind. All of the beatings, all of the emotional abuse, all of the flowers, the honeymoon, the luring, the grooming, in his words. If you leave, I will kill you. And they're going to argue to you. And she should have ran and gone somewhere and fled. You are allowed to consider the condition of a person who is a battered woman, and that is Lucy Medina. You're allowed to consider that when you consider whether she reasonably in her mind could have walked away from anything. You can consider her mental health diagnoses that she didn't have before she met Lucy Medina, and that is anxiety disorder, PTSD. You can consider that she was fearing not just that moment, but the past beatings and the future beatings that would come. You can consider all of that. You can consider in her mind her knowledge of his power and dominance. You can consider in her mind the threats that he would kill her. In her mind, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when and how bad. And didn't you hear witnesses say as time went on, it got worse and worse? The government might say in the interview, she said it hadn't happened for 3 years. Well, people protect their abusers. It did happen within 3 years because you heard from the witnesses it happened right before COVID. About 6 months before this incident, last time they saw her, all bruised up. That's why those words in a video like that are dangerous. Because she's always protecting, she's covering, she's hiding. She's trying to protect her king. She couldn't walk away. Emotionally, remember the study with the dogs and the zapping, and after they get zapped, they don't move when the door opens. She emotionally couldn't get away. She physically couldn't get away. And the beauty of having a jury is we have collective experiences, and we'll have all different experiences. If you've never experienced the catastrophic consequences of domestic violence, and it's never been part of your world, and I have talked to you. But you've seen it. If you've seen it, and you know what it looks like, and you've been part of it, then you know she couldn't walk away. You know. So when you deliberate and you share your common experiences, for those of you who know, if someone doesn't have that experience, take the time to share with them and explain to them why Lucy Medina simply could not escape. help them understand. At the beginning of this case, we made some promises to you, although we have no burden of proof. We promised to show you that the government could not show you, because they had no evidence, how Mr. Medina created or had a laceration in his throat. We told you that. It's exactly what we showed. And we told you it is important to understand the why, everything that comes before it. And we brought you witnesses, and an attorney, and an expert. The government didn't bring anything. This case was closed that night. I had to ask how many detectives and officers, who's the lead detective? Finally, Mr. Negosian comes in at the end, says he's held up, and had he known about all this stuff, he would have done something about it. But they didn't tell him. They didn't care. And so we're here now before you, and I said something in the opening statement that I've given a lot of thought to. I said, Lucy Medina's dignity. I'd like to reconsider that. He didn't steal her dignity. Despite how she feels, Lucy Medina, she has great dignity. And I know Dr. Zeisel said, hope. She lives day by day without hope. Well, I have hope for Lucy Medina, because she is resilient, she is persistent, and she is kind. She may not have hope yesterday, she may not have hope today, but she has you. She has each and every one of you. And the government did nothing. But the reason why we have jury trials is we have good people from the community who care, who think, who discuss, and we have great faith you will do that. And so Lucy Medina has her dignity, she has hope, and she has each and every one of you. Thank you.
So, yeah, it's pretty heavy. Pretty heavy. He did good, but so that was pretty heavy. Pretty heavy. And he did good. He did awesome. Obviously, he was meant to be a defense attorney. But like I said, it doesn't excuse the way he behaved in the Karen Reed trial number 2. I still think he is a dirtbag. He did the right thing by Lucy Medina. I will give him that. But I believe his true colors came through in parts of that Karen Reed trial, and they are pretty unforgivable as far as I'm concerned. That's just my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, and if that changed your opinion of him, so be it, you know. But yeah, I think some of his true colors really came out in the Karen Reed prosecution, and his actions in that trial were unforgivable. I mean, yeah, he was in it for a conviction, but you can prosecute a case without doing dirty and lying and cheating. You should never lie and cheat to come out on top, because how can you appreciate that win when you know you got it through lying and cheating? Anyway, that's it. That's all I have today. I do have a video that I want to go over sometime in the near future, and it's just a fun video, but I want to cover one of the witnesses in the Corey, I can't think of her last name now. The Corey, what is it? The Corey what trial? Jesus Christ. Just one second, see if I wrote it down. The Corey Richens, sorry. God, I was drawing a blank. I'm having a stroke. Yeah, it was one of the witnesses that testified yesterday in the Corey Richens trial. And I just want to do a video on the most absurd witness I've ever seen take the stand. I mean, he was a private investigator for her family and for the prosecution, and he was just a prick, but very entertaining, I must say. So, but that's going to be somewhat of a long video, and so I don't want to add it on to this one. That would make this way too long. So I will do that sometime here in the near future and get it out. But I mean, he was just ridiculous. It was just, he was beyond absurd. He was condescending. He was self-righteous. I mean, he was just a prick, but very entertaining, I must say. So anyway, that's about all I have to cover today, and I thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe, and stay warm, stay dry, stay happy. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.